Hey, what's up guys? This is MJ100K and today we're going to answer the question, what is the best year Honda CRV that you could buy used? I'm going to pick the third generation CRV, which runs from 2007 to 2011. Also, I like the first 3 years of the fourth generation from 2012 to 2014. You know what? I've noticed that in my other used car video reviews that no matter what years I pick as the best, people will comment and ask me my opinion on other years as well. So from now on, I will give you information on every generation because some people need something a little cheaper and some people have a little bit more money to spend. So let's get into it. Today, it's all about the Honda CRV. Some people say CRV stands for comfortable runabout vehicle, and some people say it stands for compact recreational vehicle. I'm not sure who's right about that, but I do know that the CRV is one of my personal favorites. So before we begin, safety first. Check this out. The Honda CRV is affected by the Takata airbag recall between the years 2002 to 2011. So if you own a CRV or are thinking about buying one, make sure to get this looked at ASAP if you haven't already. I'll put a link in the description to NHTSA.gov and HondaNews.com for more information. The first generation of CRV goes from 1997 to 2001. They come with a 2-liter B-Series engine that is mated to either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic transmission. This engine does have a timing belt and is an interference engine. So if the timing belt ever breaks while you're driving, well, wave bye-bye to your engine. But honestly, I do not recommend getting the first generation. My diligent automotive nerd research indicates that the first generation CRV did not do so well on its government crash tests. According to the Institute for Highway Safety, the crash test dummy's head went through the airbag and hit the steering wheel. I gotta be honest, Hondas are one of my favorite cars, but it's 2023 and the first generation CRV is now over 20 years old, and all OEMs were still learning about perfecting safety features at that time. So I'm not dissing Honda here, but listen, I gotta look out for y'all and I recommend against getting the first generation. I'm sure if you could find one in good shape, it would be reliable. However, safety trumps reliability. So if you want a CRV, I would wait until the second generation and skip the first generation.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
The second generation for the CRV goes from 2002 to 2006. They come with a 2.4-liter K-Series engine that's going to get you about 160 horsepower. The 2.4-liter K-Series engine is one of my absolute favorite Honda engines. I like that it has a coilover plug ignition system, plus it's an iVTEC and it's naturally aspirated. I like that it has a timing chain, so you don't have to worry about changing that timing belt like the first generation. And I really like the fact that the K-Series engines are known for getting really high mileage. The second generation CRV is mated to one of the following: a manual transmission or an automatic 4-speed transmission. Starting in 2005, they had a 5-speed transmission. Now, some Hondas do have issues with the automatic transmissions.
Well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect! I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake!
But these two transmissions in particular are usually pretty good if you take care of them. Just make sure to change the fluid when you're supposed to and don't drive it around like a race car driver. If the transmission ever does need to be replaced, it won't cost too much money because they sold a ton of these CRVs, so there are plenty of parts available. Starting in 2005, all CRVs came with anti-lock brakes, traction control, and vehicle stability assist. So if I were you, I'd target the 2005 and 2006 model years if you want this generation. One final thing that I like about the CRV is that the seats fold down like really far. So if you like camping or if the rent gets too high, get yourself a second generation CRV and find yourself a nice river.
And I live in a van down by the river.
So if you've only got $4 or $5 grand to spend, I would definitely consider a second generation CRV. The third generation CRV is my personal favorite, and it goes from 2007 to 2011. It comes with the same K-Series 2.4 liter engine as the second generation. The third gen and the second gen are pretty similar as far as powertrain goes, but where the third generation steps it up is with the exterior and interior styling. The third generation definitely has a more modern look. Anyways, I have some good news and some bad news about this generation. First, the good news. One of these CRVs made it to car heaven.
What did you say?
And when I say car heaven, I mean it made it to 1 million miles.
Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Is this the original engine?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Original engine.
You've not had it rebuilt?
Nope.
Now the final 2 miles to a million. The odometer, 999,998.
Here goes. Get ready to roll.
And at 1 million, this is what the odometer did. Froze at 999,999.
So that's the good news. The CRV is million mile certified. But now for the bad news. There is a recall for rust on this generation CRV. And that really makes me sad because this is one of my favorite vehicles. If you're in the Rust Belt of the United States, make sure to have your mechanic look out for this when they do your safety inspection before you buy this or any used vehicle. I made a short about this if you want more information and what you can do going forward. One other common problem for this generation CRV is that the AC compressors are known for going out. So if you're looking at buying one of these, make sure that the air conditioning works. Hopefully this repair has already been done by the time you get to it. I mean, listen, all cars have issues, but if you know about the issues, you know what to look out for. So to sum it up, for the third generation CRV, despite its problems, it's still my pick for the best generation. Just watch out for that rust. The fourth generation CRV runs from 2012 to 2016. But according to my research, the real difference between the third and fourth generation occurs in 2015. Let me explain. The 2012 to 2014 CRV still has the 2.4 liter from the third generation, which is my favorite engine. But for 2015 and 2016, they did a refresh and changed the engine to a direct injected 2.4 liter engine.
Whoa. This is not my Batman glass.
In 2015, they also changed the 5-speed transmission to a CVT transmission.
Ew, gross!
So as you can see, from 2015 on is when what I like to call the era of the next generation engines began. For the fifth generation CRV starting in 2017, they made a 1.5 liter turbocharged direct injected engine. So depending on the trim package, you could either get the 1.5 liter turbo or the 2.4 liter direct injected engine. Starting in 2020, you could get either the 1.5 liter turbo or a new 2 liter hybrid powertrain that gets up to 40 miles per gallon in the city and 35 on the highway. Now, if I had to pick between these three engines, personally, I would get the 2 liter hybrid. Now, when I first started researching this video, I was expecting to see a ton of problems on these new engines. And I did find some issues, but I have also found some examples of very high mileage. I think that these next generation engines can be great, but you have to realize that they are more complicated. The fuel systems have higher pressures, they have turbos, they have a hybrid powertrain now. So they're a lot more complicated than our good old K-Series 2.4 liter engines. I think that these next generation engines can be really good, but as customers, we have to realize that maintenance and driving habits are going to be critical if we want to reach the ultra high mileage that we've been used to. I've put together some maintenance tips for the next generation CRV engines. Fuel pressure is much higher than it was before, and that has led to some issues with oil dilution, which basically means fuel is getting into the oil. If that happens, the oil can't lubricate properly and engine damage will occur. So here are some tips that will help you keep your next generation engine in tip-top shape. If I tried to explain each one of these tips, this video is going to be over an hour, so you're just going to have to go with me on this one. Tip number 1, avoid a lot of short trips. Take the long way home. Go visit a friend or go get some extra groceries or something. These engines need time to warm up completely. This will help you to avoid oil dilution, especially in cold climates. Number 2, be very serious about your oil changes. No matter if the maintenance minder says it could go 8,000 or 10,000 miles, I recommend changing it every 4,000 or 5,000 miles. You want to use a full synthetic oil, get your OEM filter from the dealership directly. Some filters that you buy online have been shown to be cheap imitations that can damage your engine. So get it directly from the parts department at the dealership. So tip number 3, get your software updates done. There were some software updates available for these engines, so take it to your dealership and make sure you have the most current software update for your car's computer. They do help. Tip number 4, for the CVT transmission, have the trans fluid changed when you're supposed to. Make sure to use the OEM fluid. It's way cheaper to change the transmission fluid than it is to change the transmission, as I'm sure you know. Tip number 5, keep up on the rest of your standard maintenance. When I worked at a Honda dealership, I noticed that a lot of people would forget to do some maintenance. For example, getting the valves adjusted and changing the fluid in your rear differential if you have one. Tip number 6, only use quality gasoline brands. So no hole-in-the-wall gas stations. If possible, you want to use what's called top-tier gasoline. Many OEMs are recommending this. They have extra detergents in them. One final note, some people recommend getting the intake valves cleaned on direct injected Honda engines. Some dealerships do sell this service, but I could not find this recommendation in the owner's manual. So it's your choice if you want to get it. Personally, I don't think it'll be necessary as long as you follow my next generation engine tips, but it's up to you. So if you have any questions or if you want to make a request for my next used car review video, put it in the comments and I will get to it sometime this century. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in and have a good one.